Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to talk about the 5 disadvantages of going to boarding school. Dum 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 dum. Alright, so I'm gonna read because I wrote down a little bit of the stuff that I want to talk about because a girl can forget. So the first one is emotional distress. So first of all, I went to boarding school at a very early age, and because of that, it was emotionally it wasn't good for a kid to go to boarding school at that age. In hindsight, it makes you susceptible to like depression in the future, and it makes you question a lot in terms of like bonding with someone or anyone really, because emotionally you won't be available. I'm telling you this for real. Like, I think for the relationships that I have in my life, I am shocked because emotionally, most of the times you're not available. And you start seeing this the more and more when you grow, when you become like independent, when you become like financially independent, and your varsity days. Like, after high school, you start realizing that emotionally, you really can't attach to like a lot of people because you never got that like attachment from your primary caregiver. Like, emotionally, it's not okay. All right, number two, it's more or less the same, but lack of attachment. For example, what I realized about me going to boarding school is that sometimes I have a lot of friends that are for seasons, meaning that you wouldn't find me being friends with those people like 20 years from now because it's so easy for me to let go. Like, sometimes I have friendships because of convenience, and when that convenience is done, I actually chop that friendship without being aware. It's a psychological thing. I remember when I got to varsity, I was close with a certain girl. I loved her dearly. She's a good person. There's nothing bad that I can say about her. We were very, very close to the point that every time people saw me, they'd always ask, where is she? When they saw her, where am I? And so forth, so forth. But after maybe like 2 years, I am the one who decided to detach from her. So as much as I didn't see it, she told me, I asked her, why did our friendship had to end? Because I loved you. Like, I love you as a friend. And she's like, no, you actually pulled away from me. And I was like, no, I didn't. For the longest time, I was really angry, and I, I couldn't relate. Like, I didn't understand what was she saying until after I was done with varsity, and I realized that a lot of my cousins and friends have friends from varsity, and I could literally count them. Not even on one hand, just on 4 fingers. I could literally count them, only because some of those friends, I actually pushed them away and I cut the umbilical cord maybe when it was done for me and not necessarily for them. So keeping relationships for me has been a very, very hard thing to do. And most of the friends that are in my life right now are friends that really want to be there. Believe me, I have pushed them away at some point or another. That one I know that I'm guilty of. At first, I wasn't self-aware, but now I'm aware. And then the third disadvantage would be having to depend on yourself. Guys, like, independence is nice, and independence is nice, but if you're put in a position where you feel like you can't depend on anybody but yourself, it's actually a lonely place to be. It's very, very lonely because not everybody who is in your life or who comes into your life is out to get you. And I feel like for me, boarding school taught me that everybody is out to get me, and it's not necessarily the case. So feeling like you can't depend on anybody but yourself is very isolating. It's a very lonely place to be, and you can become depressed. I remember when I reached rock bottom with my depression when I was in varsity, and a lot of things really came full circle for me. But I realized that I am the person to blame for me reaching that rock bottom, not because I'm a bad person, but because of how my life conditioned me to be. And for the longest time, I couldn't I didn't understand why am I like that, and I didn't take it upon myself to try and understand myself. I was just like, whatever, this is who I am. But yeah, having to depend on yourself and yourself only is a very isolating place to be, and it can be very, very lonely. And then the next one is not being able to be a child. Okay, The reason why I'm saying this is because I started boarding school at a very early age, and what I realized about what I saw about myself is that every time I was at the hostel, I always made sure that I played a lot of sports so that I get away from this, like going to study or doing like more homework than I actually have to. So I did a lot of sports because of that. But the reason why I say it drips you off your childhood is because every holidays when I had to go home, I didn't play much with my cousins outside. I really didn't play much with them. I remember I used to watch a lot of TV or listen to radio. I used to like being alone from an early age. But I think it's because, like I said, one disadvantage is that emotionally you can't attach to a lot of people, whether you know it or not. So I really didn't really attach to them much, so that when I had to leave after holidays, like I didn't miss them at all. Like I would just go to school and go like, yep, I'm done. Like I'm going back to school. I wouldn't cry for my cousins or cry that I'm gonna miss them. No, I just detached from them. I just understood that I'm here for the holidays, and after the holidays, I'm not gonna talk to you for like another 3 months or 6 months, and then I'm gonna see you then. Okay, and then last but not least, like you are exposed to teenage life when you are not ready for it necessarily. Like for example, when I was in grade 4, I knew that girls date guys. I knew that girls have sex. I knew a lot of things that basically I felt like I shouldn't have known at that age. If I lived at home, I wasn't gonna know those things, and I was going to be protected from them. Um, and yeah, so you learn a lot of things about things that you're not necessarily ready for. I remember when I was in grade 4, some girl got raped, and I didn't understand what was rape. But basically, I mean, the other kids are not going to go like, oh my gosh, she's little, her mind is fragile, I'm not going to explain that directly. They just told me straight up, like, girl, this is how rape happens. Bam, 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 bam. And I was like, what? You know, stuff like sneaking out, running away from home. Like you learn those things at an early age. I used to remember at the hostel that I used to live at, there was a lot of girls that would sneak out. Like because we lived downstairs and most of the high school peoples lived upstairs, they would always like ask us to leave our windows open, and we didn't know why we had to leave our windows open. Only like a few weeks later we realized that they got expelled because they were running away from the hostel at night. So you get exposed to such things that mentally you may not really be ready for, and you can't really tell your parents about such things happening, and you don't know how it affects a child initially. Like I'm gonna explain further how my varsity life went, but that part of my life made it clear of what happened to me like later on in life. Like huge things that people who live at home like running away would take as big deals. To us it was just like whatever, okay, she ran away, that what, let her live her life. So you tend to let go, you tend to let serious things slide, because to you, you're not their mother, you're not their sister, so who are you to tell them what to do? So yeah, those are the 5 disadvantages of going to boarding school. But nevertheless, for me, in terms of pros and cons, there are more pros to going to boarding school than cons, but it is what it is, guys. Live the life that you're dealt. Alright guys, I'll see you later in my new YouTube video. Please look out